So, any questions on the maxims we discussed so far, or any observations, comments? Hello, Jose. Good evening. Thanks for joining.
Right.
All right. So, let me put the maxim up on the screen. So, this is maxim 7. If you are feeling wronged by anyone, do not wish for revenge. Instead, think this comes from God and be grateful. So, if you are feeling wronged by anyone, do not wish for revenge. Instead, think this comes from God and be grateful. So, this is pretty much, you hear the similar statements from almost every religion. But in implementation, everyone does exactly opposite. That's the challenge. You know, even in the Christianity, you will read this: "Vengeance is mine, says the Lord." Where do you read that? So it's a Bible trivia. Susan, if you're on mute, I guess. If you're saying something, you're on mute.
So, like maybe Proverbs. I don't know. I can't remember.
It's in Romans.
Oh, that's the New Testament. Okay.
Yeah, Romans. So you know the Romans, right? It's the letters of the Paul to the Romans. He wants to bring everyone together. I'll tell you, if Paul is not there, there won't be any Christianity today. I have a special relationship to Paul. Yeah. So the Romans, I mean, very powerful letters. It's worth reading. Right? So vengeance is mine. Why? Even Lord is saying, I'll take care of your vengeance. When is all love personified? And here you're also reading the same thing, Instead, think this comes from the God and be grateful. As Babuji puts it. So everything happens in life, there is a plan behind it. Like they say, everything happens for good. Right? So there is a guy, he'll fall from a rock or something, or stairs. His leg is broken. And the guy kind of, goes to the church and wails, how can you do this to me? I'm a very devout and faithful, believer. Some things like that. And then 2 months later, there is a war in that place. And all the youngsters of his age are forced to go to the war. And this war is against a big, very powerful, mighty army, and the death was sure. Because his leg was broken, he doesn't go to the war. So what he thought is not a good thing. Now it proves to be a good thing. So we don't know exactly, which one is good for us, which one is bad. But it all depends on us, how we want to kind of mold it in favor of us. Unfavorable things, in fact, we learn a lot of things from the unfavorable things than favorable. But when things are going right in our life, we can talk all this philosophy. when life gives a U-turn, then all this philosophy, doesn't come to your aid. When my things are going well, I can tell anybody, oh, you should have faith, you should have belief, you should have love. But when things go wrong, we receive it differently. But here it's all about, my feelings towards others when they do something towards me. But how can you avoid, right? You cannot. That's life. And most of the time, this sort of a thing happens between the spouses, wife and husband. It's never a fair deal. I always thought about it. When two people are sharing everything they have with each other, and suddenly they fall apart. I sort of thought about it. The answer came to me is, there is only so much one things they can give. When they think there is no more to give, that's when the differences start happening. Then there is only an expectation, no giving. The fundamental difference between the animals and humans is about this giving aspect. Even the animals which hunt together, they share, but they don't give. The giving aspect is only in the human beings. Once I was, I gave a session about meditation at the library, and there's a lot of new people came. And one of them asked, "You have not spoken anything about forgiving." I said, "What about it? Have you ever heard any animal thinking that I'm forgiving this guy for throwing a stone at it?" The concept of forgiving is not there. They run away and they just forget. Even vengeance is not there in their mind. Why humans have to think about it? Are we less than animals? That we have to think about forgiving someone and taking vengeance for what they have done. The whole history is all filled with this vengeance. All the way you can go back wherever. The Trojan War, Helen of Troy. It's all about vengeance. Right? Even when it comes to religious wars, so many religious wars happened. Religious wars killed many people. Even all the other wars put together, the count will not match. Why even when everyone is talking about God and love, there has to be differences. Even prejudice is also sort of a vengeance. So there it is vengeance for something someone has done. Here when it comes to religion, it's all prejudice. Prejudice is as bad as vengeance. So whenever we say wrongs done by the others, we should also include prejudice. So we have to give up. If prejudice is not there in a human being, 99% of the problems will be solved. Even vengeance is a small thing compared to prejudice. 99% of the world's problems will be solved. But we cannot let go. So all this whole, what we are attempting at these maxims is bringing that wholeness, all that noble qualities into us. That's why we are discussing these maxims and working on it almost every day, every moment. So all this 10 maxims, if you see, they cover the entire day. How should we be conducting ourselves? Correct? So, and Babaji kind of goes to an extent and saying, when you hold something in your mind and heart, it creates an impression. Every impression holds you back from achieving that spiritual journey, spiritual goal. So here the most important thing as a spiritual aspirants is to achieve that goal. Here we are not simply talking about some noble qualities, wrongs and rights, sins and virtues. We are not talking about that. Anything which is holding my spiritual journey, we should avoid under all circumstances. Even vengeance is some sort of an indulgence. We spoke about this pretty much in every maxim. The indulgence stops our journey. Here I'm not qualifying a good indulgence and a bad indulgence. Any indulgence, becomes a bar for our advancement. Even in the prayer we say, all my wishes are putting bar to my advancement. Here wishes is again, a wish is some sort of an indulgence. It's going to stop our journey. And who is stopping this? We ourselves are willfully stopping this journey. And when we do it, we are accumulating more and more impressions. And as we gather impressions, the life takes a different path. So who is responsible? We ourselves are responsible. So there is no guru or God or anyone going to come and lift you up unless you cooperate. There is no force. God will not force on anything upon us. If he could have forced it, he would have done it long time back. Right? As in the Bible it says, the covenants had to be fulfilled by the God because humans were not capable. He has to come in the form of human and he has to fulfill it. Correct? So, we have to become, so guard your loins, as they say. We have to make it happen. Determination, a will and interest. Oh, I am stressed. I am this, I am that. I have this issues, that issues. We have to overcome it, no matter. Otherwise, what's life, right? Yeah, there will be anxieties, there will be stresses, there will be phobias, fears. Everything we have to face it. Even a Superman has to face the fears. Right? It's an interesting thing. It's a funny thing. When you shoot bullets and, at Superman, he'll just face it. You throw a stone at it, he'll dunk. I always make fun with my kids on this. But, whether you face it or dunk, somehow we have to overcome it. Doesn't matter. Right? So all these maxims are how to deal with our life. How not to form too many impressions so that our spiritual practice kind of floats, sails, and progressively we are going towards that goal, moving towards that goal. So the onus shifts to us. The moment I become a spiritual aspirant, the entire onus shifts to us. Because there is no inducing, there is no forcing, there is no convincing. We have to develop that interest. That's why our Chariji, the previous teacher of heartfulness, he used to say, spirituality is not for lame. We need to know what's happening in our life. We need to know what we are doing with our life. Otherwise, what's the point, right? So that's why, it's so important. We should apply ourselves correctly, practice, make use of this practice, develop. Then there is some use of this practice. Then there is some use of God. There is some use of the teacher, or what we call the guru. Otherwise, what's the point? If you are just coming from a stress release, yes, stress release will happen because of meditation, but that's not it, right? There is a whole aspect of life in front of us. Peace, peace will happen, may not happen. We cannot be peaceful all the time, right? Like that Richard Feynman, the Nobel physicist, says, we don't know the problems. In world doesn't have the peace, so we are talking about peace. But we don't know what problems we are going to face if everyone is at peace. Even peace is troublesome to human beings. We don't want to be at peace. So these maxims are there to apply, implement, make use of. This practice is there for us to make use of. Practice it as much as possible. When the life is not going in our way, not supporting us, we know how to withstand it. If this practice is not there, we'll fall apart. Then you can blame God, Guru, anybody. Yourself, it is of no use. So all this is there to strengthen ourselves when our financial situation is permitting, our mental situation is permitting, our physical situation is permitting. We should make the best use of it, so that in adverse situations we can withstand. Right? Everyone has to go through it at some point or the other. No one can escape it. Alright, so if any comments, questions, otherwise we can get into meditation.
Just the fact that I think, especially what you said at the end, is that no matter how much you can conceptualize something, if it's not put into practice, then the way that I see it, the subconscious is never going to bring it up when you're going through that time of adversity.
Correct.
So I think that's one thing that I always bank on to try to put into practice anything that I know that is going to be useful to me at the time of need, but practice it as if I'm going to need it tomorrow. So, yeah, I really resonated with that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Jose. All right. So